Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Experts of Racing podcast, episode 2. I'm joined by two of the usual experts, AJ, Separated Connections, that's for another time, and Golfin is once again going to be off this week. Well, still, he didn't want to be on here tonight. Right now, BDF's in the background saying a lot of stuff, but right now he did not want to be on this week. But when it comes to this, we're just going to move on with BDF 48 Gaming and Larry B. the G both here. We got a bunch of news stories, a lot to cover from NASCAR in the past few weeks, as well as a lot of Formula E and F1 news as well to go over. I'm sure BDF is going to be carrying some IMSA and IndyCar news into here as well. So with that being said, let's hop right into the news. We're going to go with Formula E and F1's headlines first. Let's go ahead and go to Mr. Larry B. the G for that. Larry,
yeah,
how
Larry!
are you doing today, man? Larry.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Looks like we... Alright, looks like we got a lot to go over, so I think we should just get right into it. So, yeah, we got... So I think one of the bigger stories in more recent times has actually come from the Formula E side, where Daniel Abt has been fired from Audi for hiring a sim racing ringer to participate for him in a Formula E esports race, which I don't know, I think that's very harsh, I think. I mean, sure, it could have been suspended, but I mean, I don't think that's worth losing a ride over. Let's see, what else have we got?
You had a big hot take on this a few weeks ago when it came to esports and real life racing mixing. You mind going back over that again with the situation like this?
Absolutely. So we talked about 2 weeks ago, Xpert sort of brought up the question about esports and with the coronavirus and how is esports going to be affected by things such as the Pro League, not the Pro League, but the Invitational Series or whatever you want to call it, and some of these F1 events and that Virtual 500 and of course the Monza stuff with Kyle Larson. And most people said, oh, this is going to be a benefit in the future just because now esports is getting more exposure, iRacing's going to get more exposure, yada, yada, yada. And those are all fair points. But I made the claim that iRacing and all these other esports facilities are going to have a negative impact because of all the negative media and everything that has gone around. We already had Bubba Wallace lose a sponsor. Kyle Larson lost his job. Now, you also have Pagano wrecking Lando Norris like an idiot at Indy. And these aren't the game's faults. Like, this isn't iRacing's fault. This isn't anything to do with the actual people who make the game or the game itself. It's just surrounded by the situation that we're in at current times. You know, there is a fine line. That's not really a fine line. There's a gray area between what's just a game and what should be taken seriously. And drivers just have a different opinion on that. And that results in some of the incidents that we've had, you know? Simon Pagano says it's just a game. Ferrucci says it's just a game. Lando Norris, maybe not so much. Same with Bubba. Thinks it's just a game. Blue Emu, not so much. So it's those kind of things. Not the game's fault, but, you know, that is sort of a thing. Now we talk about Formula E with Daniel Abt getting... Didn't he get fired? I'm not going to say suspended. I think he got fired, right?
Yeah, he got fired.
Same situation.
First thing is fired.
Daniel Abt thinks, oh, Formula E, this virtual stuff, it's just a game. No big deal. What's his team think? No, it means a lot to us, and now you're gone. So it's just people's different perceptions on these games are creating all this negative attention and this negative tension in general. And that's what's kind of killing iRacing and R Factor and all these other things. F1 seems to be fine because everyone on there just thinks, oh, it's just a game, I guess, because F1's notoriously known for not being 100%. But you go to iRacing, you look at R Factor, which are games that are supposed to be simulators, and you put real drivers there that have already been through the actual thing, and they think, hold up, this isn't as close to real life as real life gets. And I think that's sort of the balance here between, is esports going to take off or is it going to go down after this? And the incident in Formula E this past week just proves my point that esports isn't going to take off as much as we thought it would.
Well, with
I'm
that
done.
being said, thank you for going back over that, BDF. Of course, it will be interesting to see as many series. I believe Formula E is still continuing with their online esports stuff, so it's going to be interesting to see the full fallout from this. We've seen several things, such as you mentioned Bubba Wallace and him. He ended up rage quitting, as we would call it, from one of the races and ended up losing a sponsor because of it. You saw Kyle Larson in a non-company or association regulated event lose his ride, lose multiple sponsors, lose his NASCAR license because of language or racial slurs he used during an event like this. And now you see this with Daniel. That's 3 drivers that have been affected by stuff like this. So it's going to be interesting to see the fallout for this as we continue in this world of the mix of real life racing and esports. But let's give it back to Larry so he can continue with the Formula E and F1 news.
So right back over to the F1 side. So for 2021, the FIA will introduce a $145 million budget cap, which was originally supposed to be 175, but it has been lowered due to the coronavirus. This is an attempt to try to bring what is called the front runners and the midfield closer together and try to create some closer racing. As we've seen in previous years, you have the front 5 or 6 who run away with it, and they have, the people in the back kind of scrapping for what's left over. So hopefully we can see. I'm hoping that can be a step in the right direction to help close that kind of crevice between the top 3 and the rest in Formula One. The 2020 Dutch Grand Prix has been cancelled due to the coronavirus as well. Another list of casualties to the cancelled Grand Prix so far this year. The season is still set to go ahead in Austria and on the weekend of July 3rd. However, that may change in coming weeks. Not much else really aside from the budget cap, the Formula E controversy, and the Dutch Grand Prix being cancelled. Still some silly season talks kind of going on in the background, but nothing concrete as of yet.
Of course, and now moving on from F1 and Formula E. Thank you for that, Larry. Let's move on to BDF's IndyCar news, and then after that, of course, trying to move into his IMSA. Any IndyCar updates, BDF?
IndyCar. I didn't do any research on this one, but I guess old news per se. The Indy 500 obviously was canceled. That is getting pushed back to nearly the end of August, and I didn't do a lot of research on IndyCar this week, so my fault, but I know a lot of events are getting pushed back. I think St. Petersburg is going back to October, so they're going to go to a lot of the racetracks that they missed. That's IndyCar, but looking at IMSA and WEC, I did do a little bit of research of this. First, we'll start off with the World Endurance Championship. I talked about a few weeks ago about how Chevy and Porsche are pulling out of Le Mans. Ferrari, still not doing that. Ferrari is going to be in for that race. They did announce that. They're still doing the 24 Hours of Le Mans. As a reminder, that is going to be, I think it's near middle or end of September. So it's going to be a little cooler. Shouldn't affect it that much. But yeah, that's what we're looking at there. And then some IMSA news. This, once again, is a little old. I think it got announced the day of, or like the day after the last time we did this real life racing talk. But IMSA is, how should I say this? IMSA is projected to get back up again July 4th weekend area. as they will go back to Daytona. They're also going to modify the schedule a little bit for the races they missed. And then at the end of the season, they're going to go do the 12 hours of Sebring over down there in Florida, which I think is a really cool idea. Last year, they did a Sebring race. It wasn't as big, but they did do a Sebring race. So it's not something that's completely odd, and they already go down to Florida in the wintertime. So if they're going to push a race back in November, that's like the race to do it, if you know what I mean. So I guess that's the news that has come with IMSA and WEC, and you never know, we might be looking out for some rumors, maybe some NASCAR drivers doing the Rolex 24 next year, but we'll see what happens.
Certainly, and with that being said, is that all the news off of IMSA? With that
Yeah, that's the news off of everything, yep.
All right, and I guess now we're going to be heading into NASCAR news. It's going by a little quicker than it did last time, I'm guessing because we switched off the silly season stuff, but switching from the international stuff to the stuff back here at home, NASCAR got back underway since the last time we did this. They had 2 races at Darlington. One was won by Kevin Harvick. The other one was rain shortened and won by Denny Hamlin. A lot of controversy sparked off of that second Darlington race. Coming to the finish, I would say, would you say the most 2 toxic fan bases and the most liked and most hated driver being Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch? Kind of a rivalry is starting to spark up there. Wouldn't you say, BDF, Larry?
I didn't know Chase Elliott was NASCAR's most hated driver.
Oh, okay. Well,
oh no,
I mean,
messed
he won
it
the
up.
most
I should
popular
have said I
driver
didn't know
award.
Kyle Busch was NASCAR's favorite driver. That's what I should have said. Dang it, I messed up. But yeah, I agree with you. The 2 most toxic fan bases. I mean, the 48 camp is up there, but I almost said the 24. The 9 and the 18, little toxic. I mean, I think the 9 is 2 times, or no, the 18 camp is probably 2 times more toxic than the 9, because, 9 times 2 is 18, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, I think this is the most, how should I say this, polarizing sides of the NASCAR spectrum going up against each other in a heavyweight matchup. It started at Darlington 8 days ago, and it's kind of ran through Charlotte so far. And it did run through the Truck Series. I know you're going to talk about that one a little, but yeah. It should be fun. It's going to be something to look out for.
I'm going to have to put a copyright warning in here because I'm going to get an image of it just so everybody knows what we're talking about. But Chase Elliott, after winning at the truck race last night, just to give a full overview of what happened, Chase pretty much got dumped. It was called, a lot of fans called it intentional, but it basically came down to a pretty bad misjudgment by Kyle Busch that ended up turning Chase from a potential win at Darlington. I believe it was last Sunday, it was a few days ago, NASCAR went to Charlotte for the 600 and ended up, Chase Elliott ended up leading the final end of the race we had a caution leading to overtime, which Chase pitted along with Kyle Busch and other drivers. And Chase and Kyle made their way up through the field to where, unfortunately, after a Jimmy Johnson disqualification, sorry to bring it up, EDF, Chase ended up finishing second. I believe Busch ended up finishing 4th, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he finished
Chase?
4th.
No, he finished in 3rd.
No, I'm talking about Busch.
Oh, Busch? Maybe. I don't remember. I know he didn't finish in 3rd.
I know
Let me
Busch
look this
made
up.
his way. He made his way up through there, but he ended up finishing.
I'll check.
I believe it was a top 5 finish for Busch as well. Don't quote me on that, but after the race, there were words exchanged between a disappointed
4th.
Elliott
Right.
and a looked like veteran Busch, trying to give him some words of encouragement and such, and that led eventually to Charlotte Truck Race, in which Chase Elliott was sponsored by Hooters to run an attempt to go after Kyle Busch's bounty, and I guess you can call Chase the bounty hunter now because Chase was able to cash in on that as he beat Kyle Busch in the Truck Series. Kyle Busch laid it to that his team wasn't prepared and said that, and I quote, that it was unexcusable. But after Chase won during his victory celebration, he ended up doing a what's become Kyle Busch's trademark was a bow with the checkered flag after the race. So a kind of a shots fired or call out. Would you say that's shots fired, or would after everything that's going on, or what would you say that comes down to, BDF?
Well, Elliott's little bow, I feel like, in all honesty, I feel like Chase Elliott didn't intentionally do it. I feel like he was just celebrating because he had finally won a race in 2020, which is something he should have at least one, and he probably could have another one. Actually, he could have up to 3, but we're not going to talk about that. He could have had a few wins this year, and I think winning at Charlotte is something that's going to give him some confidence, and that Charlotte win, I think he was just having fun at the time. But now, I think after everything has settled, he starts to realize, oh, this is Kyle Busch's move. And maybe Chase Elliott does not want to take it back, solely because I guess this is his revenge from Darlington or whatever. But I feel like if Chase Elliott were to do this intentionally, it would be very off for some reason. Just because it looked like they were through it, and then even Kyle Busch giving him the words of advice, and for him to go out there on Tuesday and do it again, like, this is completely different than Denny Hamlin. The Denny Hamlin is different for me a few years ago. So I don't feel like it was intentional, but at the same time, I don't feel like Chase Elliott is going to, like, sweep this one under the carpet 100%.
Well, Chase Elliott's already said that, and Kyle Busch, both of them have already said Chase is expecting to pay him back sometime, and Busch is expecting to be paid back at some time. So it's going to be interesting to see when that happens. If you watch the NASCAR broadcast, which the second Charlotte race should be starting soon if there's not a rain delay. But that's why we're hoping to try to squeeze this in here for today. But and there are talks about Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott. Like, Chase might just let Kyle Busch eventually earn his respect back and not do the payback. But knowing this going forward with the frustrations that Chase has not only felt through this season but throughout his entire career, do you expect Chase to pay him back? Or is it one of those things that will slowly... Chase will allow to rebuild and just forget about it and sweep it under the rug?
I think Larry should answer this one.
Yeah, Larry?
I don't think Chase Elliott is... I was about to say Chase Elliott isn't the type of guy to retaliate, but I mean, he did kind of put Hamlin on the wall a few years ago, but we won't talk about that.
Ask Hamlin.
Yeah, I don't... But I don't think that Elliott's going to retaliate after the incident in Darlington, solely because, I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's needed at this point, because it was a silly mistake on Bush's part. His spotter cleared him, and it was just one of those things. I know from a spectator's perspective, it's just like, oh, he turned it and dumped him, but I mean, I don't think retaliation is needed. Whether or not Elliott does it or not, I don't know, but I just don't think it's needed.
Well, of course, there's multiple sides to this story, and we will continue to update as the story continues to go forward. Of course, moving on from this, we're setting up for Charlotte. Now, a lot of guys have a chance to win here tonight if we do get the race in. I believe the field is inverted again, or at least the top, I believe 20 is inverted. So
I wish the whole field was inverted.
You wish the whole field was inverted. Hey, Jimmy Johnson on pole, yeah. But
yeah, that would have been.
The top
They had done
20s
that for Darlington. He would have been on pole like back-to-back weeks.
Well, with that being said, Jimmy Johnson's going to be starting a course in last, but the top 20 is inverted. BDF, go ahead. We're all going to give what you think. We're going to do a dark horse pick and a regular pick. What is your regular pick that you think could win today?
We're going to start with the regular pick. Oh, so I was thinking about this one today. And I think going into this race, there are 17 drivers that actually have a shot of winning. And we'll throw the Benedetto in there, whatever. And I think that's how we can do it for almost every single race. Like almost every race we've had over the past 4 or 5 years, you can basically put 17 or 18 of them in a pot and try to determine. And these are from teams that I like to call the Power Five. You hear this in college football, college basketball, you know. This is sort of the Power Five for NASCAR. You got Hendrick, you got Ganassi in the Chevys, you got Haas and Penske in the Fords, and you have Gibbs in the Toyota. Almost every single NASCAR race, somebody from these teams is going to win. Now, of course, you might have the Justin Haley or the Stenhouse or the Dillon. And sometimes you have the, I don't know, the Eric Almirolas of the world back when he was on RPM. So you might see something like that, but I don't think anyone wins. Realistically, nobody's got a shot. And if you look at Charlotte over the 600, and you look at Darlington as well, I think you can knock out everybody from Ganassi, and I think you can knock out everybody from Haas. I don't think Harvick wins, I know, but this is not a very good track for Harvick compared to some of the other ones. So ultimately, it comes down to 12 drivers. And I think my dark horse and my main pick here, you know, sort of the same thing. And I'll take it short and sweet. I don't think Penske's going to do it. Blaney has been close all year, but he's never won. Keselowski, although he has a lot of early season success, I think it's going to be hard for him to duplicate that win. And Joey Logano, I think, has the best shot, but it's not going to happen for him on Penske. Eric Jones, I doubt it, just because Jones doesn't usually win these kind of races. Jones only wins the big races. His chance to win was on Sunday. But Denny Hamlin, I would say he would be in there, but he lost his crew chief, he lost his car engineer, he lost everybody. And he's starting in like the 20s, so I don't think Denny Hamlin's gonna have any sort of fire. I don't think Byron's gonna win. I think he has a shot to do really well, but I don't think he's gonna win this race because he's gonna invert. And then, of course, I think it comes down to 5 drivers. I think it comes down to Truex. I think it comes down to Bowman. I think it comes down to Elliott. I think it comes down to Kyle Busch. I also think it comes down to Johnson, but that's a stretch. But out of the main picks, my regular pick, it's either going to be Chase Elliott or Kyle Busch. Because these two people have been in a rivalry for a week. And I think Elliott's been so close, but Kyle Busch is going to have a chip on his shoulder since that bow. And I think Kyle Busch is going to win this race. That's my pick. I think Kyle Busch wins this pick. I think the dark horse, if you want to consider Johnson a dark horse, sure, because he's starting last. But I don't know. Johnson would be my quote-unquote dark horse, but if you're looking for somebody outside the Power 5, I would say Tyler Reddick.
All right. With that being said, let's go to Larry now. Larry, what is your regular pick for today's race, and what is your dark horse?
Oh boy, let's see. You know, I think BF has some really good reasoning, but I think I'm gonna go on the opposite side of the spectrum with his regular pick. I'm gonna say Chase Elliott finally gets it done and wins this race. You know, he's been so close so many times since NASCAR has returned, ever since the coronavirus epidemic. I think tonight is when Chase Elliott finally gets it done. As for a dark horse pick, call me crazy, but I'm gonna say Ryan Blaney.
All right.
Is Blaney a dark horse, though?
Yeah, I would say so, yes. He hasn't won
He's
since
doing
the
well on the
Roval,
points.
so...
Johnson hasn't won since
Points,
Dover in
points.
2017. That better count as a freaking dark horse.
Okay. Well, that is a dark horse, but...
Good. Jimmy's my dark
all right,
horse.
so
Every
my
week.
regular pick. Both of y'all, BDF mentioned Elliott a lot, but he said it came down to Busch. Larry said Elliott. If you know me, you know I'm an Elliott fan.
He's gonna take
For the past few weeks, it has been so close. Elliott has come so close. He's been there. He's been there. He's been there. He's been there. And then something happens. And you know what? I've said it time and time again that this is our year and all this. Well, I think the pattern continues of Elliott not winning a race.
Good boy.
As an Elliott fan.
Realistic.
I'm saying this as an Elliott fan. Now, I will say this. A Chevy will go into victory lane today. a Hendrick Chevy will
Alex
go into
Bowman.
victory lane today. It's going to be Alex Bowman is going to be my regular pick. Alex Bowman
one
in
super
these
fun.
races has been he's been sneaking around there, and he's done well in these shorter versions of the races. So I feel like Alex Bowman will be a player today. I feel like he can win today. I also feel like as a dark horse, I feel like as a dark horse, since the pattern has been happening, I'm gonna consider it a dark horse. BDF is about to cuss me out. I
Chris
feel like
Buescher?
or he's about to lose his mind.
He's about
No,
to say
I'm saying
Chris
Chase
Buescher.
Elliott. Chase
That ain't a
Elliott
dark
is my
horse?
dark horse.
Are you high?
That's
That-
not a
Chase
dark
Elliott is not a
horse.
dark
Hold on.
horse.
Hold
That
on.
is
Chase
Let me
Elliott's not a
explain
dark
this.
horse.
Are you
Let me
kidding?
explain this.
Expert, are you
The
on here
curse.
just to start?
Hold on. Hold on. No.
What are you smoking? I want some.
Listen. Oh, my Lord. Listen. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is he not cursed? All the times that he's been there, something always happens. I think that clarifies
That doesn't mean
him
he
as
a dark.
horse.
Elliott's won 3 times last year. He's not a dark horse. He's leading the drivers'
He's won
standings
3
right now
times.
at a drivers who haven't won yet this season. He's leading in the points.
Okay, he may have won 3 times last year, but you know he's only won 6 times in his 5 full-time seasons as a Cup driver.
Well, technically 4
I'm
and a half.
clarifying him. Okay, well, still, I'm clarifying him as a dark horse.
Go ahead, it's your channel.
So okay, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it. I'm gonna get a lot of comments for it. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of
comments
backlash in the Discord. But
Dark horse is Chase Elliott, even though he's better than the guy who I picked up to
Cheater.
win.
If you want an alternative, I will give BDF the shadow. I'll give him. I'll give him this. If it's not going to be Chase Elliott, I'll say Jimmy Johnson and put that as my dark horse. But either way, I want to give a little bit of faith
William
in there to
Byron.
my boy Chase, but it's starting to slip a little bit. But with that being said, it's going to be an exciting race. Right now, it looks like green flag time is going to be in 4 minutes. I'm not sure. BDF might be tracking it for us right now.
Track
if they look
is,
like they're
the
going to be
track
able to
is
go
clear.
green.
There's like barely any cloud. There's a few clouds in the sky, but it's partly cloudy. Like the track looks perfectly fine right now.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to go green here shortly. But unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. We're not going to have the episode 2 of the Experts of Esports downloaded. There's an audio issue with it. So, unfortunately, we're not going to have the scheduled episode 2, but we will have an episode 2 posted to, it'll be posted to YouTube. It's going to be next week as me and some of the experts from the Experts of Racing, we're going to get together and have a fun little gameplay of Uno for you. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to get cheated out because they're going to look at my stream. But they're going to look at my stream, I feel like, and just see my cards the whole time. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting to be able to see all of y'all there next week on the Twitch stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe when you see this on YouTube. If you're looking at us on Twitch, don't forget to follow as well. And with that being said, I want to say thank you for BDF, for Larry, and once again, with that being said, we will see you next time.